the silence hit me first. Not the usual, peaceful quiet of our apartment, but a hollow, dead kind of silence. The kind that makes the air feel thin and your ears ring. Zane's beat-up sedan wasn't in its usual spot when I pulled in, which was the first little prickle of wrongness on a perfectly normal Tuesday evening. I fumbled with my keys, a knot of anxiety I couldn't name tightening in my stomach. Inside, it was like our home had been burgled by someone with a very specific, very personal list. The space on the entertainment center, where his beloved gaming console used to hum, was just a dusty, dark rectangle. I walked into the bedroom, my heart starting to pound a frantic, stupid rhythm against my ribs, and threw open the closet. His side was a graveyard of empty hangers, clinking softly against each other in the draft from the open door. His bookshelf, the one he'd painstakingly built from reclaimed wood, was bare. He'd even taken the worn-out fantasy paperbacks he'd read a dozen times. Every trace of him was gone, right down to the ugly, bristled toothbrush he refused to replace in the bathroom cup. Then I saw it. On the coffee table, placed dead center on a coaster, was a single sheet of paper torn from the yellow legal pad he used for work notes. His handwriting, usually a messy scrawl, was unnervingly neat, precise, final, 4 short sentences that detonated my world. I know everything. I can't do this. I'm sorry. Good luck, Sigrid. My breath hitched in my throat. I read it again, and again. The words swam, refusing to connect into a coherent thought. Everything about what? My mind was just a roaring static, a complete and total system failure. My hands felt like blocks of ice, and I had to lean against the wall to keep my knees from buckling. There had been no fight, no warning text, no tearful late-night conversation. Just this. This gaping, silent hole ripped through the middle of our life, announced by a 4-line note on a coffee table. It wasn't real. It couldn't be. My mind scrambled, trying to replay the last few weeks, the last few months, searching for the crime I didn't even know I'd committed. What did he know? What was everything? And that's the sick part, isn't it? I knew exactly what it was, but my brain was desperately trying to find another answer. You have to understand, Zane was good. Just fundamentally, unshakably good. He's a soil scientist. He literally studies the ground beneath our feet for a living, and his personality matched. He was stable, dependable, and had this quiet, calm way about him that had been my anchor for the last 4 years. He was the man who remembered I hated cilantro, who learned how to braid my hair badly, but he tried, after watching a YouTube video, who held me through a panic attack when my dad was in the hospital. We were planning a life. We'd spent a whole weekend just looking at engagement rings online, not to buy one yet, but just to dream. We talked about which suburbs had the best schools, even though kids were years away. Our life was a blueprint, carefully drawn and perfectly logical, and I was suffocating. My friends, my circle, they're different. They're in the vibrant, chaotic heart of their late 20s. Their Instagram feeds were a constant stream of rooftop bar cocktails, spontaneous weekend trips to Mexico, and dramatic, hilarious stories about their latest Hinge disasters. When we'd all get together for brunch, they'd trade war stories about terrible dates and situationships, and then they'd turn to me. So, Sig, what's new with you and Zane? What could I say? Oh, we finally found a brand of organic coffee we both like, and we're thinking of regrouting the bathroom tile this weekend. The looks I'd get weren't mean, not exactly. They were pitying, a kind of fond, sad little smile that said, "Oh, you've settled." Their lives felt like they were being lived in brilliant, oversaturated color, while mine was fading into a comfortable, predictable beige. The pressure wasn't spoken, but it was there, in the air, in every shared story I couldn't contribute to. It was a creeping anxiety, a voice in the back of my head whispering, "Is this it? Is this all there is? A straight, flat road to a mortgage and a sensible sedan?" Zane was content. That was the infuriating part. He was genuinely, deeply happy with our quiet life. He loved our Friday night routine of Thai food and a movie on the couch. He didn't need the external validation, the chaos, the drama. His contentment felt like a judgment on my own restlessness. I started to resent his stability because it highlighted my own dissatisfaction. I loved him, I truly did. But I started to feel less like a partner and more like a project he had successfully completed. I was a box that had been checked on his life plan. And I just needed to know that I could still make someone else's heart beat a little faster. I needed a spark, just a tiny, harmless one, to remind myself I wasn't dead inside. And so, like an absolute idiot, I did it. It was after one of those brunches. I came home feeling particularly beige and invisible. Zane was in the living room, happily assembling a ridiculously complex Lego set, completely absorbed. I watched him for a moment, this wonderful, kind man who loved me, and all I felt was a wave of desperate, clawing boredom. That night, lying in bed next to him while he slept, I downloaded the app. My justifications were a fortress of self-delusion. I wasn't looking to cheat, I told myself, not really. I just wanted to window shop, a harmless ego boost to get me through the day. I used a slightly different name, cropped my photos so my face wasn't fully visible. I was just dipping a toe into the world my friends all lived in, just to see what it felt like. My one, unbreakable rule was that I would never, ever meet anyone. It was a game, a fantasy, completely separate from my real life with Zane. The dopamine hit was instantaneous and addictive. The matches started rolling in, and with them, the messages. Little bursts of validation delivered right to my pocket. And then came Kai. He was a graphic designer, or so he said. His messages weren't the usual crude pickup lines. They were witty, sharp, and funny. He asked about my day and actually seemed interested in the answer. He complimented my taste in music, which he gleaned from a single band t-shirt in one of my photos. He made me feel clever and interesting, and most importantly, seen. Zane loved me, I knew he did, but his love felt like a comfortable, heavy blanket. Kai's attention felt like a spotlight. Our chats became my secret little world. I'd find myself smiling at my phone like a teenager while making dinner. I'd stay up a little later than Zane, the glow of the screen illuminating my face in the dark, just to exchange a few more messages with Kai. He'd send me pictures of his design projects. I'd tell him about a frustrating meeting at work. It escalated, of course. The compliments became more flirtatious, the conversations more intimate. He told me I was too vibrant to be stuck in the suburbs. He said my mind was sexy. He was saying all the things I desperately wanted to hear, things that filled the cracks my own insecurity had created. I was living a double life on a tiny screen, and I convinced myself it was fine. It was just words. Pixels. It didn't affect Zane because he never knew about it. It was my own private thing, a little pocket of excitement in my otherwise predictable life. It wasn't real, it was just a game. So when things blew up, a part of my brain, the selfish, stupid part, was genuinely shocked. It was just texting. It wasn't like I'd actually done anything. He was being ridiculous for overreacting, right? The end came on a Tuesday morning. It was so mundane, so utterly normal, that the violence of it still gives me vertigo. Zane was giving me a lift to work because my car was in the shop. We were listening to some indie rock station he liked, the sun was shining, and we were talking about what to have for dinner. I remember the exact moment, the exact song that was playing, because my phone, which was plugged into the car's USB port and connected to the Bluetooth, buzzed. And there it was, displayed in big, bright letters across the car's infotainment screen for both of us to see. Kai, still thinking about what you said last night. Can't get the image of you out of my head. You're killing me, Sig. Time just stopped. The air in the car turned to glass. I saw Zane's hands tighten on the steering wheel, his knuckles turning white. He didn't swerve. He didn't slam on the brakes. He just kept driving, his eyes locked on the road ahead. I lunged forward and snatched the phone, my fingers fumbling as I frantically disconnected it, my face burning with a heat that felt like it could melt my skin. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. Zane, I started, my voice a pathetic squeak. It's not what you think. It's a stupid joke, a friend. The lies died on my tongue before they were even fully formed. They were so transparent, so insulting. He didn't look at me. He just kept his eyes on the road, his jaw set like stone. I saw a muscle twitching in his cheek, a tiny, frantic tremor that was the only sign of the earthquake happening inside him. I would have preferred yelling. I would have begged for him to scream at me, to call me every name in the book, to pull over and have a massive, relationship-ending fight. But he gave me nothing. He just drove. His avoidance of conflict, the thing I'd sometimes found frustrating, was now being weaponized into the most terrifying silence I had ever experienced. It was a silence that judged me, condemned me, and erased me, all without a single word. When he pulled up to the curb in front of my office building, he finally turned the engine off. He still wouldn't look at me. He just stared straight ahead, through the windshield at nothing. "Zane, please," I whispered, tears starting to well up. "Please just talk to me. Let me explain." He finally turned his head, and the look in his eyes, it wasn't anger. It was worse. It was a look of complete and utter devastation, as if he was looking at a stranger he had once loved very much. His voice, when he spoke, was quiet, hollow, and completely devoid of any emotion. "Have a good day at work, Sigrid." And that was it. I sat there for a second, paralyzed, before numbly getting out of the car. I watched him pull away, calmly signaling before merging back into traffic. He didn't look back. And as I stood on that sidewalk, the morning sun feeling impossibly cold, I had no idea that was the last time I would ever speak to him. When I got home that evening, ready to beg and plead and grovel, he was already a ghost. The panic was a physical thing, a feral animal clawing its way up my throat. I dropped my purse and keys on the floor and ran through the empty rooms, as if he might just be hiding in a closet, playing some kind of sick, cruel joke. His name tore from my lips, a raw, ragged sound in the crushing silence. I called his phone first. It went straight to voicemail. The cheerful, generic greeting felt like a slap in the face. I called again and again. Voicemail, voicemail, voicemail. I opened my laptop, my hands shaking so badly I could barely type. Blocked on everything. Facebook, Instagram, even the stupid Pinterest account we shared for home renovation ideas. Every digital door had been slammed shut and bolted. I sent a frantic barrage of texts, each one more desperate than the last. Apologies, explanations, pathetic pleas, they all went through green, not delivered. He'd blocked my number. My next move was pure, unadulterated desperation. I got in my car and drove the 40 minutes to his parents' house, my mind a chaotic slideshow of what I would say, how I would beg. His mom, a woman who had always treated me like a daughter, opened the door. Her smile was gone. It was replaced by a tight, polite mask of sorrow. "He's not here, Sigrid," she said, her voice gentle but firm. She didn't invite me in. "Please, Linda, you have to tell me where he is. I just need to talk to him." I made a mistake, a horrible, stupid mistake. "He doesn't want to talk to you right now," she said, and the finality in her tone was like a coffin lid slamming shut. I think you should go home." Defeated, I turned to the last resort, our friends. I called Maya, my supposed best friend, our go-to for double dates. I sobbed the whole story down the phone to her, expecting a wave of sympathy, a promise to talk some sense into Zane. What I got was a long, awkward silence. "Wow, Sig," she finally said, her voice strained. "That's a lot. Can you just talk to him for me?" I pleaded. "Tell him I'll do anything. I'll go to therapy, I'll delete every app I don't really think it's my place to get in the middle of this," she said, and the sudden distance in her voice was chilling. "He's pretty torn up. Maybe you should just give him some space." It wasn't a suggestion, it was a dismissal. The conversation ended quickly after that with a vague promise to let me know if I hear anything. She never called back. It was the same with everyone. Our shared social circle closed ranks around him, not with overt hostility, but with an awkward, polite distancing that was somehow worse. They were choosing a side, and it wasn't mine. The final, devastating blow came from a conversation with Mark, one of Zane's college friends who always had a bit of a soft spot for me. He was the only one who seemed genuinely conflicted. After I begged him for information, he let out a heavy sigh. "Look, Sigrid, you really messed up," he said. "You know about what happened with his ex, right? Before you." I had no idea what he was talking about. Zane never talked about his past relationships. "His college girlfriend," Mark explained, his voice low. "She didn't physically cheat on him. She just had this emotional thing with one of her classmates. Texting all the time, secret inside jokes, all of it. When Zane found out, it destroyed him. He said it was worse than if she'd just slept with the guy because it felt like she'd given away a part of her mind, a part of their connection to someone else. For him, loyalty, that's not just physical, it's everything. It's his one, absolute, unbreakable rule." And just like that, the ground fell away. It wasn't just a mistake anymore. It wasn't an overreaction on his part. I hadn't just tripped over a line. I had taken a running leap, with my eyes wide open, directly onto the one landmine buried in the landscape of his heart. and I had been too self-absorbed to even know it was there. Weeks bled into a month. The apartment became my tomb. The silence was no longer just an absence of sound. It was an active presence, a heavy, suffocating entity that mocked me with the ghosts of laughter and conversations that used to fill the space. I stopped cleaning. I stopped cooking. I lived on coffee and the stale taste of regret. Every creak of the floorboards in the hallway made my heart leap with a stupid, pathetic hope that it was him, coming back, ready to talk. It never was. One night, drowning in a cheap bottle of wine and self-loathing, I decided I needed to erase him as thoroughly as he had erased me. I started to pack up the few things he'd left behind: an old college sweatshirt, a couple of mismatched socks. Tucked away in the back of his closet on the top shelf was an old shoebox. I almost threw it out, but something made me open it. Inside wasn't what I expected. There were no old love letters or mementos from a life before me. Instead, there was a book. It was a dog-eared guide to hiking trails in our state, and as I flipped through it, my breath caught in my throat. Dozens of pages were marked with little sticky notes in his familiar, messy handwriting. He'd circled specific trails, rating their difficulty, noting scenic viewpoints. And on one of the notes, attached to a page describing a beautiful waterfall hike, he'd written, "Perfect for our anniversary, take Sigrid, she'll love the view." The date on the note was for the week after he left. A sob, raw and guttural, ripped through me. The book fell from my hands. It was all there in that stupid, worn-out hiking guide. The proof. He wasn't boring. He wasn't uninspired. He was planning, quietly and thoughtfully, in his own Zane way, to build a life of shared experiences with me. He was trying to give me the very adventure I thought he was incapable of providing. And I, in my arrogant, selfish quest for a cheap thrill from a stranger, had been completely blind to it. The spark I was looking for wasn't missing. I had just been too busy looking at my phone to see it. That discovery broke something deep inside me. The anger, the self-justification, it all just evaporated, leaving behind the cold, hard truth of what I had done. That night, the real haunting began. I don't know why I did it. It was a form of self-flagellation, a desperate need to feel something other than the crushing emptiness. I searched for his name again, but this time, I looked up his sister, Amelia. Her profile was public, and there he was. The most recent post was a photo album from a family barbecue, uploaded just 2 days ago. I clicked on it, my hand trembling. There were pictures of his nieces and nephews, his parents smiling, the family dog. And then, a picture of Zane. He was standing by the grill, tongs in hand, laughing at something his brother had said. He was thinner, and there were shadows under his eyes I'd never seen before, but he was okay. He was smiling. He was living a life that was continuing on its axis, completely without me. I became a ghost at the feast of his new life. I couldn't stop. Every day, I checked Amelia's profile. A picture of Zane helping his dad with a DIY project. A comment from his aunt saying how good it was to have him home. Each post was another twist of the knife, a fresh confirmation that his world had not ended. Only mine had. And I was trapped here, in the ruins of the life we were supposed to build together, endlessly refreshing a social media feed, a prisoner in a digital hell of my own making, staring at a picture of the man I destroyed, who was, somehow, learning to live without me.